process whatsoever. He's been renditioned or say kidnapped and sent off to the United States for some bizarre reason, facing a trial in New York court.
Worker and student who worked with Somali youths in London. Friends described him as religious but not extremist. They say that other Somali youth looked up to him, and he even played the peacemaker between rival gangs. His lawyers say that because of this influence, he was targeted by the security services, who wanted him to spy for them, specifically to try and get a peer group to talk about jihad. He said no.
I think this coincided with lots of it with the way the foreign policy of Britain and America was turning towards the Horn of Africa. So it seems that these young lads are inadvertently caught up in something that's a much wider foreign policy issue. And for Mehdi, certainly, it's absolutely sort of, tragic consequences for him.
All I can say that is Mahdi was someone who was a practicing Muslim, and usually children at this age, from that age, they usually drop out of school, and they join gangs, or they smoke on the streets. But Mahdi was different from them, so maybe they thought of taking advantage of that.
Human rights campaigners believe that Mahdi Hashi was rendered to the United States because no European country would have convicted him because of lack of evidence. However, the conviction rate for Muslims caught up in terrorism cases in the United States is 100%. So the implicit message to Somalis in Britain is, don't oppose British foreign policy, or you might end up like Mahdi Hashi.
He was captured in African state, and he is a British citizen. Why was he transported all that to the States? If there must be something else going on.
Despite the fact that Mahdi Hashi was born in the UK, the British government seems to completely wash their hands of him. On the face of it, they do seem to have to answer quite a few embarrassing questions. For example, what was their role in his kidnapping, secret detention, and ultimate rendition to the United States? But because they've stripped him of his citizenship, they can avoid answering these questions. My interest in making this documentary stemmed from this public meeting in central London in early 2013. The majority of people here were Somalis, and the issues raised were all to do with MI5 blackmail and the targeting of the community. The aim was to empower British Somalis to come up with a cohesive strategy to counter the harassment. The message was, don't be afraid to speak out, don't be victims. And this is also Abuka Awale's message. He works with British Somali youth. His own TV show on the Somali channel, where he tries to keep young people on the straight and narrow.
If you are Somali and you go, it doesn't matter where you go, as long as you land in Heathrow Airport, you are expected to be taken on the side. Not only searched by his bags and who you are, but they will have your details, and there is follow-up calls. And, they want you to maybe to have a tea. What is the tea for? And before you know, they will try to push you and say, we want you to work with us. And that's what the young people have been complaining so much about.
Awali recognises that the government has a duty to protect national security, but thinks that making an enemy out of a whole community isn't the way to go about doing that.
There are extremists everywhere. Obviously, we cannot deny the fact that Al-Shabaab is in Somalia and they're using similar approaches. But what security services are concerned about, those Al-Shabaabs coming here. We don't have Al-Shabaabs here. We rather have we have boys who are more Arsenal fans rather than Al-Shabaab fans.
What would you have the government do?
Working with the community, winning hearts and minds of young people and encouraging them to report crime, encouraging them to work with the police, to trust the police. I don't think no young single, whether young or old, Somalis want to see London being blown away by terrorists. But if the police and security services are victimizing me and making me feel that I am a terrorist, which I am not, then they are pushing me to become a terrorist.
But amid all the doom and gloom, there are signs that the Somali community is trying to channel itself in a positive way. This youth event in the Small Heath area of Birmingham is a bit of light relief for these young Somalis, who might otherwise be on the streets getting up to no good. This sometimes raucous night of singing, rap and comedy is designed to remind them of their roots and their culture.
I mean, there's nothing better than being back home where you belong, because even I living here for like over 10 years right now, I'm still an outcast. This is not my country. This is not my world. My country right now is Somalia, but it needs to, be fixed. And until then, I'm a foreigner here.
When I was young, the police used to pick us up. I've even got put into a bully van myself, which is a police car, and I've got battered for no reason because I was a Somalian. The only thing he was saying, you effing Somalian, and he was punching me in my face. I mean, when we tell the police this, they're not going to believe us because it's their word against our word, and they're not going to believe us. And there's no one we can really turn to and say, look, we need this help.
The organisers of this event say that more funding is needed for community initiatives such as this, to make young Somalis feel wanted and to give them some direction in life.
I think the only way to break that cycle is to communicate better, both from the Somali community and obviously the law. They need to find a way to meet halfway. Obviously, I can't say every Somali person is clean and has no record and is good, but same as I can't say every Somali person is bad either. So I think they need to find that common ground where they're able to understand each other.
I'm Somalian, end of the day, I'm Somalian, I'll always be a Somalian, but by papers I might be something else. So what I'm trying to say is, end of the day, whatever, I know that I'm going to be going back home. If I don't, I know my kids will be. So that's what we're trying to tell them, don't forget what you are.
And that's your ultimate goal, is it, to go back home?
Yes, I would do anything to go back home, especially when it's peace.
MI5 don't make public statements, so they won't respond directly to the accusations levelled against them in this programme. However, they do say that Al-Qaeda-inspired terrorism is the main threat to Britain's national security. They also specifically deny targeting Muslims, arguing that Muslims themselves are victims of Al-Qaeda-inspired terrorism. Seen from the British government's and the security services' point of view, British Muslims are the most susceptible to the kind of ideology which saw 52 people killed on July the 7th, 2005 in London. The kind of ideology which thirsts for revenge for Britain's invasions of 2 Muslim countries in the last decade, and its support for dictators in the Muslim world as well as for Israel. More recently, the killing of a British soldier in South London in May 2013 posed serious questions about the ideology of British Muslims who try to travel to Somalia, as the chief suspect allegedly did. But Michael Adebolajo also had contact with the security services, indicating that those who attempt to travel to Somalia are closely watched and perhaps also recruited.
There is absolutely no justification for these acts, and the fault for them lies solely and purely with the sickening individuals who carried out this appalling attack.
Well, let's be clear what the responsibilities of the security service are. They are to counter terrorism. There are several other responsibilities. Their task is to identify potential suspects, and then when there is sufficient